So I wanted to record this last night, but my mind thought it was a better idea to sleep on it and understand it better before I spoke about it. So here I am, coffee in hand, sun barely rising. I heal in a way that I don't know anybody else that does. A lot of the times, I don't seek forgiveness or ask people, to say sorry for things, right? Because that's unnecessary. And I've talked a lot about forgiveness in the past and how it is solely it's for me, right? So part of my process is either a process letter, which I've talked about before in the past, where you write down everything that you feel and then don't send it. I feel it's more powerful for me to have this in a conversation form. And I've been doing this my whole life. And I realized last night why and how it's changed. So when I was younger, and I mean like my teenage years, these kinds of thought patterns, I would have them like after an interaction with someone that upset me. Like, say, I remember one specifically, and I'll tell you this, but this wasn't in my 20s either. Well, this was in my 20s, it was my late 20s. I was 29 when this happened. So this isn't something that was only for a couple of years. This is something that I did for many years. I would be 15 by that point. So I was at the grocery store and the girl behind the counter was extremely rude to me. And I, of course, was not rude. I was very kind. I was calm. I just didn't say anything. But when I left, every mean thing I could have possibly said came to mind. Every single one of them. And then I saw myself in my mind's eye literally grabbing the girl by the back of the head and smashing her face into the counter. This was how I dealt with my anger. It never occurred to me, thought forms our energy, right? So when I was a child and I started doing this, I literally separated my own self. Instead of sticking up for myself and saying, hey, that wasn't really cool, and being, vocal about it, I would just allow myself to get humiliated or whatever it was, and then think about revenge later. Revenge. It was always revenge. It was never healing. It was just to make me feel better. I literally created my own demon by not allowing myself to express how I felt and stuffing it down. I created that dark side of me that would pop up every now and then in my life and actually make its presence known. Instead of allowing my anger to be healed, I allowed it to grow. And that anger, like I said, 15 years later, I was still imagining these things. It's not like that now. When I have these conversations now, it's literally me allowing myself to express that which I never expressed before in a calm, cool, healed way. It is me expressing aloud my boundaries, where I felt wronged, and how I healed. I don't stop at where I was wronged. I always go one step further and see how it changed my life. This is how I heal. Now, while this is all coming up, while I'm feeling through this, my inner child comes forward. And I felt a massive shift. It literally felt like I was 6 years old again. And I started crying like a little girl. And I was saying things that I never had the courage to say when I was a little girl. Things like, you're mean. You're hurting my feelings. Why do you hate me so much? Everything that I wasn't able to express as a child, I expressed last night. Those things that were too scary to say. This reminds me of my daughter. She and my last husband didn't really get along very well. Like, not alike. And anytime he would yell at her, everything inside of her, she told me once, would just scream, I just wanted to say, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And that was literally my inner child, screaming at me last night, hey, feel what you didn't feel as a child. And this is something that I've been doing a lot lately, because I have had many phases in my life, many stages, many evolutions. My life just feels like a dive into the zodiac. As I grew up, I would shift. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. People can look at me all day long and say that I'm the most unstable person that they've ever met in their life. But I'm going to tell you that's not true. I've just experienced more from life than most people. Like I explained to my children last night, when I was in the first to second grade, I moved from North Carolina to Southern California. I had to change my personality. Literally had to change my personality. The second I walked into that school, they made fun of me for the way I spoke. I had lived in the South my whole life until that point. And then this is a huge culture shock. And then from there, I moved to the Midwest. And then from there, I moved back south. It was all over the place. So I had experiences in small towns, rural areas, big cities, megalopolises. I'd lived in all of them, and therefore it created a very diverse individual. I just evolved as I moved. I shifted. It wasn't necessarily a change in my person. It was a readjustment of frequency to be in the frequency of those around me. I don't do that anymore. But as I gathered all of these different perspectives, if you will, it created a much more complex individual. Allowing myself to be that complex individual is me being myself. Allowing myself to express what I feel is a common courtesy I give to everybody else except for myself. But not anymore. I'm going to tell you how you make me feel. Because I don't want that demon to, run rampant in the energy field. I want her to be happy that she has her voice and that she has the right to express how she feels. Understand that. Your voice matters. Because the thought forms their energy too. And that energy hits the other person, especially if you're thinking specifically about them. I spoke just a couple of days ago about the shift that happened a year ago. Well, it's been 13 months now. My entire life, I had been running away from this demon that I had created, trying to avoid that anger, trying to run away from it. But last year, my demons came to make friends, to be understood, to be seen not as demons that are evil, but is a natural consequence for pain. And when we don't express that pain, when we don't heal that pain, that's when a pain or wound becomes, oh my gosh. I've had visuals of this, of what your pain will do to you. It's disgusting. It looks like a blobbish monster that attaches to your abdomen and doesn't stop chewing. It erodes away your soul and your body. Now I'm hearing, feed me Seymour from Little Shops of Words. Except for it's not feed me. It's free me Seymour. Express how you feel so that your demons don't have fuel, but have comfort. Okay? Bye, guys. See you later.